We'll now recite the Sangha Covenant. We, the Daishin Kokuji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for all. Please be seated for this evening's talk. Sit comfortably and face towards our teacher. In a moment, we'll do the Gatha on opening the sutra. Gatha on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
For my lovely Jisha, I have on my block. Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with the planes, the trains, and the automobiles as we were sitting tonight. So we're continuing on with our grimoire. And we are on a case that is number 10. Okay, so we're moving right along here. I think I need a bigger lectern. Okay. So, here we go. Seizi the Poor. Case 10. Monk Seizi eagerly asked Master Sozan, "I am solitary and poor. I beg you, Master, please help me to become rich. Master San said, Venerable Z. Yes, Master, replied Z. Master Sozan said, you have already drunk 3 cups of fine Hakka wine, and still you say that you have not yet even moistened your lips. Luhmann's commentary. Seizi the monk is obsequious in tone, but what is his real intention? Sozan, Master Sozan, has the penetrating eye and thoroughly discerns the monk's state of mind. Be that as it may, just tell me, where and how has Venerable Z drunk the wine? The verse. Poor like Hantang, of a spirit like Ku, though they cannot sustain themselves, they dare to compete with each other for wealth. So, as usual, we're kind of in a, what? And like a little bit of like, oh, I kind of get what's going on place, right? And it's really important to get used to being in that place in your Zen practice, because guess what? Have you noticed you're in that place in other times in your life? Like most of the time? Got it, don't got it, or kind of got it, but not really. I really missed quite a lot here. All right, let's go through the case. And before we do, it's really nice to kind of set where we are in time. So Sozan was born in 839 and he died in 901. I don't even know what was going on back then. But I do know that his teacher, Tozan, and he himself are considered to be the founders of the Soto school. And that is one of our lines that we carry today forward. So, just sort of really appreciating how much we kind of transcend time and space when we're doing this practice. I mean, I'm sure these two, this master and student, had no idea that their little interchange there was going to come down to us in Toledo in 2023 and help us to realize our our place, our true place. Actually, there's so much in that, isn't there? Like the really deep respect of all the people that have gone before us with all of their terrible, terrible choices and awful consequences, as well as all of the gifts that we've received from them. May we really appreciate all of it. All right, let's look at the case and see what we've got here. A monk, Seizi, eagerly asked Master Sozan, I am solitary, sometimes it's translated as destitute, and poor. I beg you, Master, please help me to become rich and prosperous. Other times it's translated as give me alms. So in these cases, when the monk is actually named, it means that they were like a monk of some attainment. If it just says like a monk said blah, 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 and Zen master blah, 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 who has a name, then you know that they're just sort of like an ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill monk, kind of like us. But this is such a, like, amazing thing to say. I am solitary and poor. I beg you, Master, please help me to become prosperous. So this solitary and poor, as soon as I read that today, I was thinking, God, you know, I think of the, like, all of the billions of dollars that are spent these days on the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich kind of like, there's this massive industry where everybody wants to like get away from being solitary and poor on the one side. And then on the other side, I was reminded of Jukai. Christy, her wife, works with children. And I guess during COVID, because of all of the stimulus packages and everything, like thousands and thousands and thousands of children were raised out of poverty because there was a lot of money going around. And that spigot is shutting off. So all of these children are thrown back into poverty. So you have to kind of, when we're doing this spiritual work, realize like what realm we're investigating right now. This is not a moment where we're saying, well, you know, it's really cool to be poor. It's not cool to be poor. It's very hard to be poor and very stressful to be poor. And something needs to be done to help raise especially children out of poverty. So that's not what we're talking about at all. So this solitary and poor that Seize, the monk, is talking about is more reporting out where he finds himself in his spiritual practice. And first of all, let's just really like honor the fact that he knows where he is in his spiritual practice, right? He actually knows what he's working on and what his edge is, right? And you know, right there is this big teachable moment for us. Each of us should know where we are in our spiritual practice, where we are on the cushion, what our edges are. And at the same time that we're letting go of everything. So good luck with that. But you do have to know where your edges are and what our particular karmic condition is that we're working with, right? So in this case, solitary and poor is kind of interesting. Because really what he's saying is, I've sat on the cushion for a long time, and I've really stripped away so much of the baggage narrative in my mind. I actually, with the Buddha, I alone am the only one between heaven and earth, somehow truly touched the Absolute. And that in itself is no small feat. But he knows this can't possibly just be it. This blank cave of ghosts in the dark as we sit. hour after hour after hour. This is very important. It is said that in samadhi, you can get to these different stages of very high stages of practice. This practice where you can get to the highest stage of no form. Nothing. Zippo. You don't even know you're sitting there. Now, the bodhisattva practice is not to stay there. The bodhisattva practice is to take that wealth of encountering the absolute, realizing the absolute, and coming into the world and helping to heal the world. Bodhisattvas do not stay in that no-form place. If there's a bodhisattva hell, it's that place, right? And depending on how the student presents, sometimes it's hard to kick the student out of that nest of emptiness if they get stuck there. Having been stuck there myself and been one of those very difficult students to kick out, I can really appreciate. But it was so lonely. It was really lonely and destitute. And it was like a place of no meaning, nothing. Nothing mattered, nothing. So remember, we just did that really intensive workshop on the Heart Sutra. And we said that first part, form is emptiness, actually pretty easy, relatively easy for us to get ourselves there. That koan mu is great for getting you there, right? Even though you got to bang your head against the koan, it will get you there. The emptiness is form. This is the life. This is our human life, right? Please help me to become prosperous. Help me to realize the richness of my life. I don't want to be in this black ghost cave of absolute nothingness. I'm not useful. I can't fulfill my bodhisattva vow. And the master, the Zen master says, Venerable Z. And as soon as those words are spoken, the monk knows and feels the richness. And that's what we're practicing. We're practicing that we get so sophisticated and so refined that the slightest expression is this expression of emptiness as form, with all of its richness and bliss-fulfilling, amazing samadhi-ness of it all. And then the monk says, yes, master, more richness, flowing, outpouring, unbelievably. Venerable Z, yes, Master. 4 words. And our practice gets us so sensitized that when we hear this koan, we're like, ah, yes. I feel that richness. I know that richness. That richness is our life. That richness is emptiness coming into form, emptiness arising as form. We used to say God is in everything, right? But it's hard to translate that. Some people don't like that anymore. I happen to like it. And then, to put a finer point on it, the Zen master says, you've already drunk 3 cups of fine Hakka wine, and still you say that you have not yet moistened your lips. This richness that you think that you don't have, that you think you're stuck in this ghost cave of darkness, it's kind of BS. As soon as you think the words, I am solitary, that is the richness. Right? You can't escape the richness. And this Hakka wine is like, apparently, it's like 1,000-year-old recipe. And it was the women of this particular town, Hakka, or maybe it's the family, actually, it's the name of the Hakka. But anyway, the women made the wine. And they used this wine for all kinds of medicinal purposes. And they would give this wine to women after they'd given birth to children to revitalize their bodies. And I looked it up to see how much it cost, and it's like $140 a bottle. So it's kind of like going up there. But that's kind of a bit of an aside. So much of, if we just continue to practice, right, and continue to let that integration of form and emptiness keep mulling about in our hearts, then we can always take a drink of wine, regardless of the situation that we're in. Isn't that great? To me, this is really good news, right? Let's see, Seize, so the monk, is obsequious in tone. I had to look up that word just to make sure I knew what it meant. And it means obedient or humble, and it has a little bit of a connotation of being excessively so. But what is his real intention? Sozan has the penetrating eye and thoroughly discerns the monk's state of mind. Be that as it may, just tell me where and how has Venerable Z drunk the wine? That's the real question of this koan. When and how have you drunk the wine? You see? Pour like Hantan, of a spirit like Ku, they cannot sustain themselves. They dare to compete with each other for wealth. So this is one where you need a little bit of background info. You need the notes at the bottom. So Hantan was, I guess he wanted to be a government official, but something happened and he couldn't do it, so he ended up being a fortune teller. And I guess that's like really a lowly job in Chinese society. So he couldn't, like his wife didn't have any millet. They were like a little rickety cart going around telling people's fortunes, and he wasn't making a lot of money, and it was a very hard life. Of a spirit like Ku. So Ku was this amazing general who who was actually he was very famous. It said even his splendid horse, Su, seems to have caught his master's fighting spirit. And then he had a mistress, and there was some very famous song that he sang after he'd won all of these battles, and he knew the last one he was going down. He just decided to bring the horse and his lover and all of his soldiers, and he sang this very famous song: strength to drive through a mountain, spirit to cover the whole earth. Yet the time is unfavorable. Su, the horse, wants to advance no more. Gu, the mistress, oh Gu, what shall I do with you? I think that's supposed to be a really famous Chinese ditty. So the verse is showing both sides, right? That poverty that is like touching the absolute, nothing to grasp onto, nothing to gain. And then the spirit of Ku is like going out there, making it happen. Yeah, both sides coming together. And this is really interesting. Both sides coming together, you would think, oh man, this is like a total superhero. This is like power extraordinaire, right? You got it going on. Though they cannot sustain themselves, right? This is really important, this line here. They cannot sustain themselves. You can't make a thing of it, right? You just can't. There's always more. There's always this perpetual tumbling into our life as a Buddha. It never ends. There's no place to sustain ourselves. They dare to compete with each other for wealth. I wanted to talk maybe just a little bit more about this poor and destitute space before I ended, because it can be experienced a lot of ways, and it can be a little bit scary as well. In all of the spiritual traditions, there is this sort of recognition of the dark night of the soul, right? Where no matter what you do, nothing's working. And you'd been on this really nice uphill climb, and you were feeling all these transformations, and man, I got it going on. I'm so much happier. This is great. I love this Zen practice. And then nothing but sheer drudgery on that cushion. And we've all been there, right? Interestingly enough, in Zen, We think that's really great. And it's nice to have a teacher when you're in that place. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavor of one of the Zen masters talking about that place. So this is a letter from Da Wei, and the person writing said, please help me with the direct essentials. I need to know exactly what to do and simplify it for me, please. I don't have a lot of time. I got a big job. I can only sit a few minutes in the morning. Right. I ask you to abandon at once all the joy you've ever felt in reading the words of the scriptures yourself, or when being aroused and instructed by others. Be totally without knowledge and understanding, as before, like a 3-year-old child. Though the innate consciousness is there, it doesn't operate. Then contemplate what's there before the thought of seeking the direct essentials arises. Observe and observe. As you feel you're losing your grip more and more, and your heart is more and more uneasy, don't give up and don't slack off. This is the place to cut off the heads of the 1,000 sages. Students of the path often retreat at this point. If your faith is thoroughgoing, just keep contemplating what's before the thought of seeking instruction in the direct essentials. What's before that thought even arises? Suddenly you will wake from your dream and there won't be any mistake about it. So going directly into naked form before the form arises, before the thought arises. And then not getting stuck there. That's the Bodhisattva big vow. I will not get stuck in the absolute. No way, no how, not going to happen. Because this samsaric world needs me to help. May it be so.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Thank you, everyone. That concludes our service for this evening. I dare say we have some announcements. Is this true? We never don't have announcements. Session registration is open. When session's in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay, there's an announcement. Otherwise, we're done. Please restore the Zendo. Thank you for your practice.
Yes.